Okay, good morning, folks. Welcome to what is actually our second segment for the morning. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Keisha, I see that you are here already. You need to get a prize for being the first one logging into the second segment of the day. Kindly note that we've got Mr. Woody Foster here with us in studio. And I see a few people. We've got 25 people already logged into Instagram. So we'll give you guys just a few minutes to get back on the live stream, and then we can get started. So just a few preliminary announcements. The airport is preparing to be shut down. So we have between essentially today and tomorrow an influx of a lot of our returning students. The government does have a plan for those individuals, so please be mindful if you are a parent that you're aware of where your child is going, if they're going to take advantage of the self-quarantining options at the available hotels. And as we announced earlier this morning, it looks like it's Comfort Suites as a primary hotel, and then a secondary hotel is the Westin. So again, thanks to those hotels who have made their facilities available so that students do not have to go back in their homes, potentially cross-contaminating other family members, essential workers, or high-risk family members as well. So I think that that's a fantastic idea. Also wanted to really give a big shout out to the banks who have already stepped up to the plate, namely Bank of Butterfield and Cayman National Bank. And we understand now that the credit union has finally gotten their act together, and they're going to be offering something as well. I hope, and I've not gotten confirmation of this, but we hope to get some clarification that the credit union has now removed that $40 application fee that they were going to charge people to be considered to have to be able to get the deferment of 1 to 3 months. That doesn't make any sense to charge people an application fee, and it also makes no logical sense to require people to actually come in to your facility to sit down with a loans officer face to face. Again, that defeats the purpose of social distancing. So social distancing is where we're doing our best to keep at least 6 feet as the optimal distance from other people. No touching, no sneezing in the air, walk with your handkerchief, with your napkins, and so on. So I'm very, very pleased. I see quite a number of people. We've got 83 people logged in on Facebook, 94. I just went up to 94, and some 33 persons on Instagram. So let's just get on with the show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's my pleasure to have on the Cold Hard Truth, or morning edition, which is something we just started this week, to really try to keep you guys as updated as possible about everything that's going on here in your communities. Specifically in relation to COVID-19 and all of the, every day something is happening. So all of the news alerts that are coming out on a daily basis. I am really, really pleased to have with us in studio, because we always have a virtual studio set up, Mr. Woody Foster. And of course, we've been trying to get Woody on the show for quite some time, but he's a busy man. And now more than ever, he is especially busy. So Woody, good morning, and thank you so much for joining us.
Morning, Sandy. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks a lot. Just a few quick shout outs, as we like to do it here in the morning. Christine, good morning. Thank you so much for tuning in. Daisy, she's tuned in. Lily, of course, is tuned in. Ruth, it says she's actually watching from Nicaragua. Janice, thank you very, very much. And Eunices, I always wonder if I'm pronouncing that right, says they've actually been doing everything through email. So thank you for that, because I think initially there was some information coming out from them that people needed to go in and actually submit an application and then make an appointment with the loans officer. So great to know. So Eunices is also inquiring about what the HSA number is for. So let me just clarify. In the morning segment, we had mentioned that we sent some messages to Lizette Yearwood, who's a CEO at the HSA, about people's concerns, in particular about the pharmacy and the proximity of persons in that very close space. She responded immediately and essentially said that they have been limiting it to just 10 persons, but still, the pharmacy is not very big. It is very tight. And in addition to that, you can actually WhatsApp your refill requirements to that WhatsApp number. So that WhatsApp number that's on the screen, scrolling at 92575, will give you the ability to simply send them a WhatsApp message. And guess what, guys? I tried it this morning. I just literally did it, and it works well. I gave them my date of birth, my name, what prescription I needed refilled, asked for a little bit extra just in case, we don't know where we're going with this quarantining situation. And they just said, what location would you like it to be collected from? And we're good to go. So it's times like this that we are trying to use technology and technological advances to try to get through this as easily as we can. Reggie, good morning to you. Doreen, Melrose, Tamara, and Melrose says she loves the information that's being put out. Tamara is watching from Florida. Thank you so much. And Miss Dolores is watching from Charlotte, North Carolina. So we have some of our international crew tuned in to the program this morning. So again, in case you guys missed it, we are being joined in studio this morning. I'm just trying to pull up Woody's name here, just in case you guys don't know the face. That is Mr. Woody Foster. So Woody, again, thank you for joining us. Let's start off first discussing, you wear numerous hats. Many more that I'm sure we even realize because you're also a father and a husband. I'm sure you've got things on that front that you're dealing with as well. But of course, in this community, we know you most famously as the managing director of Foster's Supermarket. And as the island's largest supermarket, am I fair in saying that? Because you've got the most locations. Yeah.
Locations, sure.
You've definitely had your hands full during this COVID-19 situation. Can you tell us a little bit about what some of the measures are that you have been taking to ensure the safety of both the general public as well as your employees?
Well, that's difficult. I think the largest problem with that is resources, inventory of product, because everybody knows in terms of going into the stores and trying to find stuff, we are out of sanitizer, sanitizing lotion, cleaning products, so gloves, those type of things they're really hard to find. So it's difficult for all of us, not just Foster Supermarkets, but our competitors as well, and first responders to get the products that they need to do 100% of what needs to be done. So I'm not going to lie to you, it's very difficult. So in terms of sure that every cashier has gloves and is changing them every time and properly sanitizing, it's really hard. And then we've had some customers that have been upset that we weren't able to do this and to do that. And I mean, we have to try and manage our resources as best we can and put them in the places that they are most important. And then some of those things that come underneath that might not get done. But in terms of cleaning, we clean every day anyway. We've ramped up our cleaning. Basically, all of our staff are at work, even if they're not needed, so that they can act as cleaners or help with whatever needs to be done. So we've implemented some new procedures today, because we're really sort of taking a step back and watching how customers enter the store and how they move around the store. And in terms of answering the question, cleanliness, while a lot of people are using those hand sanitizing wipes at the front of the stores to wipe off the handle of the carts or their hands, we noticed that a lot weren't. And then we have those sanitizing wipe stations around the stores. So we're saying, well, if we just attack the situation from the front of the store when they first come in, maybe we can help with the spread, potential spread, from before they even get in the store, and it's easy for us to then maintain. So we've implemented some new procedures at the front of the store, coming in, kind of making one-way entrances, so coming one way, leave another. So we're just doing a lot of things. We're making a lot of adjustments, as everyone listening and knows that this is a very fluid situation that's changing day by day. New procedures, in the shortages, we have to do things differently and become, exercise your ingenuity in how you're going to solve problems with fewer resources. It's just very fluid, very dynamic, and we're also communicating with our competitors in terms of what are they doing, so we can implement similar things. So the cooperation between us in the food industry has been incredible. And we can talk about some of those instances further in the show.
Okay. Well, that sounds good. And I mean, that's, very hopeful in terms of we all have to, at this particular stage, just try to work together as best as we can. I do see a few messages starting to come in. I want to remind persons, I see Catherine just sent a message. It's quite lengthy. So I just want to remind people that for this particular format, the shorter the message, probably the better. Because when we try to pull it up on the screen, if it's super long, you can't actually see everything. So just keep that in mind. And also just a reminder for the persons tuned into Instagram, you can't see Mr. Woody, but obviously you can hear him. So just continue to listen in for that. So we'll take some questions in just a minute from our audience as well. But Woody, you've always had those wipes available at the front of Price Right and I think most of the supermarkets. It's just maybe some people have only now, maybe some people have only now just noticed that they're there, and they seem to be using them a lot more for sure. At what stage did you guys realize that?
Too much more.
Yeah. At what stage did you guys realize that we were going to have a run on things like toilet paper, for example, which I'm still a little bit baffled by? The hand sanitizers and so forth do make a little bit more sense. It looks like your light just went out there for some reason.
Yeah, so can you give me... Oh,
there we go. It's a motion sensor light.
What's that?
No, I said maybe it was motion sensor.
It was in the building, but anyway, it went back on.
Okay.
No, anyway, we'll see. At what point did we recognize that we were going to have a problem?
Yeah, like a shortage. Yeah.
Well, we started to ramp up. We started to see some increase in sales prior to last week, and so we started to make adjustments to our orders. But by the time those adjustments were being registered, mayhem hit, and so we weren't able to change anything with our order patterns prior to it just going crazy.
Right.
And even those adjustments didn't contemplate the level of hit that we got. And I don't think anybody could have forecasted that, to be completely honest. I mean, we had Black Friday for a week, and it was just really, really difficult. Now, thankfully, we have a warehouse, and that really helped us to get through as we did. But we have been our buying team has been under a lot of pressure to keep things coming. And they're doing an amazing job. They're just really earning their paycheck right now in terms of going out and finding places to find product, because it's one thing when it's a regional problem like hurricane season and you have 2 or 3 or even 5 islands hit. It's still regional. It's the whole world looking for the same product. So it's really difficult in some instances.
Yeah. And to be fair to you, Woody, as grocery shoppers, we just show up and we just want the products there, and we don't understand the logistics of what's involved in getting goods to the Cayman Islands. So sometimes we criticize that, oh, grocery stores don't have enough variety. We're only a population of some 65,000 persons. And the bottom line is we don't manufacture anything in the Cayman Islands. I'm sure even though you have a warehouse, there's only limited space. You can't store an infinite number of items in any event. So I think it's important for people to really recognize what goes into getting products from overseas, from your suppliers to the Cayman Islands. And of course, your biggest supplier stuff is coming out of the US. Is that correct?
Is where, sorry?
Out of the US,
yeah.
yeah.
Majority of it, well, the majority of it is in the US, yes, but like the producers coming from all over the place, they just end up in the US and then get shipped to us.
Okay. All
It
right.
comes from Mexico, Canada, grapes come from Chile, they come from all over.
All over. Okay.
Yeah,
Speaking of grapes, I'm
this is
actually having
really,
some right now.
really highlighting the, sorry?
No. I was just saying that speaking of grapes, I'm having some for breakfast
that?
at the moment. Nobody, sorry. I was just saying that speaking of grapes, I'm having some of your grapes.
I've got you. This situation is really highlighting we all take for granted. I mean, ourselves included. I mean, we know the supply chain really well. We consider ourselves to be pretty good at logistics because we have to do it every day, all year, every year. So I mean, we've gotten quite good at logistics, but even ourselves take a lot for granted in terms of what it takes to actually get a product out of the field and on our shelves. There's a lot of moving parts. And this crisis has really highlighted the fragility of that in terms of everything is a part of the process. If anything goes wrong along the line, there's a chink in the armor, right? So, I mean, whether it's immigration in the U.S. sending people home, immigrants home, or not allowing them to work, that's less people in the fields. Right now, there is an amazing need for containers, so there's not enough containers. So you have places like Canada who are picking potatoes and peas and whatever, and they're ready to ship, but they can't get containers. Or the same thing with trucks. There was a shortage of trucks leading up to this. Also, the U.S. and the rest of the world had put legislation in place which limited the amount of hours that a driver could drive. So where they were driving, unsafely, 12 and 14 hours at a time, they put in stringent times where they could only drive 8 hours. That has been eased up just so that we could keep drivers on the road and moving. So there is a lot of product out there. It's getting it to every supermarket in the world is proved to be a logistical nightmare.
Wow. Okay. One of our viewers wants to know if you guys are considering doing any sort of food delivery options, like grocery delivery.
Yes. Okay. Online shopping. We have not been pro online shopping. Needless to say, everybody knows that because we don't offer it. Our competitor Hurley's does offer it. They installed it a few months ago. Kirk's does it to a little bit, not full on, and we have not been minded to do it. However, in this crisis, we decided that we have to do it, whether we want to or not. Now, implementing a proper online service, not just some makeshift Flintstone version, it takes time. It takes a lot of you to do it properly. We are hoping to be able to roll it out, all going well. So please don't hold me to this, but we are hoping to roll it out on Monday. And we've been able to do that. Our IT department has called in favors, and we have some amazing partners in the US who have put strings and helping us out. But the one thing that I need to do is I need to give a shout out to Ryan and Marion from Hurley's, because they opened up their supplier called Fresh Shop to us and they had an exclusivity with Fresh Shop, and they opened up. Without that, we wouldn't have been able to make this happen, because you have companies out there like Instacart and other companies who are just simply not interested in doing business with the Cayman Islands because they're too small.
Right.
So to be able to deliver this, you need to find a company who's but good enough to operate in this environment. So thank you to Randy and to Hurley's for opening that up to us. Which is that the level of cooperation amongst all of us has been fantastic. So
That's great.
we're in the testing stages right now. There's a lot to do. Even our IT goes, oh my God, I thought I knew what it would take to do online shopping, but now that we're in it and getting it operational, there is so much to do. And 10 days is not a lot of time, but they're doing it. So hopefully we'll be able to get that rolling on Monday. Now, that's not going to resolve the problem, because you can only do so much. You can only pick so many products in with so much time without an army of people doing it.
Right.
And we're not really set up to be that type of a center. We're a supermarket offering online. So what we will do in the first instance is to open up online shopping. Once that gets going and we work out all the bugs that is operational, then hopefully after that, all going well, we'll do click and collect. Now, the difference between the two is online shopping is we deliver it to you, we won't be doing the delivery. We're going to outsource that through a company. Say, for instance, hopefully somebody like NCI, who's a local small business who will ramp up their delivery opportunities. So we will get it to them, and they will make the delivery to you. We're also hoping to reduce the delivery fee so that you can just do that at cost and make it a cost-effective basis. Click and collect is where you order it, we put it together, and we bring it to your car outside the store. So you come to the store and wait in your car, and we bring it to you. So all going well, within the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to offer both of the services. And then we'll see where we go from there in moving on. So we are trying our absolute best to just pull out all the stops to make sure and take care of this country as best we can. And when I say we, I don't just mean Foster's, I mean Hertz, Hurley's, Cost You Less, the other small providers, just everybody.
Okay. Well, that's amazing, and thank you for that question. So, Annette, that should answer your question. Nancy says, we appreciate everything you're doing, Woody. Foster's has always been the best. So hopefully that's some words of encouragement there for you. Catherine says, I provided this idea to Woody via Facebook Messenger, but I'm not sure if he saw it. Maybe he could consider this regarding the supermarket issue spoken about today during the press briefing, where the supermarkets are still attracting hordes of people, and it's causing a public health risk due to the close proximity in which people are coming into contact with each other and overcrowding the place. My idea is this: why doesn't the government and the supermarkets work together to create a time interval ticketing system with their current websites to allow people to book a time to visit the supermarket? Supermarkets have already made it possible for people to order things such as catering and groceries online. So use the same system, but make it more automatic instead of a person having to administrate it, and it would operate the same way. She goes on at length about the idea, but I think the gist of it, it's very long actually. I think the gist of it, we get, and you and I had actually spoken yesterday about this, because I think it's a question, I guess, that's on everyone's mind. How can we go about, getting some sort of system in place that reduces the numbers?
Well, we are having lots of discussions between the stores, along with having lots of discussions with the NEOC and Doc D in terms of this situation. We are fully aware of that. The problem, I would say, is that, there's lots of suggestions and lots of potential solutions, but the one that we keep coming back to is there is just so many people that are coming through the store to slow up the process process just basic. It's sort of like traffic, right? And one choke point causes all of the traffic to back up. And so, if we slow up the process, it just creates traffic. So, which is why nobody has been quick to close the stores or to do any sort of limiting on them, simply because everybody wants to continue to shop and get their products. And if we start creating issues at the supermarkets, we're really worried about sort of panic getting in. And we've already had enough of that. So some of the things that we've kicked around is, what if we do get to the point to where we need to limit the amount of people in the stores, because excuse me 1 second. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is a moment sense of going on with the lights. My apologies.
Yeah, no worries.
So yeah, some of the things that we are looking at. If we do need to limit the amount of people that are in the store, if we're forced to go that way because there is simply more cases of COVID-19 and it's just too risky to continue doing what we're doing, then we are working towards that solution. And what we do not want to do is like what I'm sure you've all seen on your WhatsApp. One of the million things that are floating around is queues outside that are miles long, because the weather in the Cayman Islands, thankfully it's not raining, but it's really hot. And we don't want to bring in a bunch of sweaty bodies into the store, which gives us a further nightmare with cleaning. We are trying to come up with a solution to where the customers can wait in their car, the AC running or the coolness of their car, and when their number is called, so to speak, they can come out, grab their grocery cart and go in. So the first thing that we looked at was, if you've ever been to a busy restaurant that says, hey, come back in 40 minutes, like say in a mall, and they give you one of these little beepers with, red flashing lights, or they vibrate, or whichever one you use, so you can continue and don't stand around wasting your time. We were looking at bringing those in, but to bring in the 2,000 that we figured we would need to cover every store, it was going to cost $60,000 first cost, and we don't have any use for them after this situation. So while it seemed like a good fix, it's pretty expensive, along with all the other costs that we're taking on right now in trying to survive this situation. So we then really scaled it back to something a lot more basic, which is if we just get the ticket number system like you would see in any food counter, or even if you use the Department of Motor Vehicles, they have, you're given a number, you wait for yours to be called. We're looking at a situation like that, and then maybe using big whiteboard, we write people's numbers on so that they can see them from their car in the parking lot. So we've ordered those, and we're going to test them and see how that works, if that's what we're forced to do in the future.
Okay.
And we're also looking at, those are some of the things we've looked at today.
Okay. For some reason, I've lost my camera, so that's why people are not seeing me, but that's okay. Woody is handsome enough, we can keep him on screen. So Kara says, even before the coronavirus, I always wiped my shopping cart down and I use the disinfectant wipes. Shelly is asking what's probably the number one question at the moment. When will you have some Lysol spray back in stock?
That's a very good question. And as I mentioned earlier, those type of products are in super high demand. Now that particular brand is from a local supplier. We don't bring that in ourselves. They bumped up their stock, and like us, they started to see the sales go up, so they increased their orders, but they have a 3-month lead time on those products. So getting them is difficult. They're waiting on an order, and I believe it'll be here in early April. But I'm not 100% sure. In the meantime, we're continually trying to get product, but it is super difficult on disinfectants, sanitizers. Even right now, because those products are so difficult to get, and everybody's told every second of the day to wash your hands, getting soap is getting difficult. So I mean, we have bar soap. It's just hard to get the pump soap. But the bar soap is just as good because the discussions out there is as long as it creates a foam,
Right.
it's good. So just use bar soap.
Okay. And on the line of soap, Emily or Emmy says a wash station in front of the store would work better. Any thoughts about putting that at the front of the store? Or, I mean, the bathrooms are pretty much at the front of the store anyway.
Yeah, we talked about that as well because we Paperland Midtown put in a temporary hand washing station inside Paperland. Those run about $1,500 a piece uninstalled, which again is not a big issue, and I'm sure we could do that. The problem is there wasn't enough in stock to really do everything that we would want to. So we would again, that's just another one of those ordering situations. But yes, we looked at that as well. We just didn't pull the trigger on that. So, but I do appreciate the suggestion because I'll look at that again.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. So again, folks, thank you so much for your questions and your suggestions. And obviously, Woody is happy to take those on board. I'm sorry. Melrose just says, great point. Hope everyone will practice this. Will control a lot. I think she's referring to hand washing. Jeanette wants to know, please, would the stores set up donation baskets near checkout exits for the food bank and Meals on Wheels? So first of all, Jeanette, I can kind of answer part of that and letting you know that Woody has been one of the integral persons involved in the Cayman Islands Food Bank when they first launched. And I know he has been working tirelessly with that organization to make sure that they, as a grocery store, do their part. But we know right now that the food bank is in dire need of donations. So Woody, is this something that you could potentially consider in terms of just setting up a little area where people can drop some goods in for the food bank?
Well, the easy answer is yes. The background on that is whenever we have done those sort of, barrels for whether it's the food bank or Meals on Wheels or Lions or whatever, unless somebody is there with the barrel, like a physical presence, all of we have there is receipts, garbage. People throw stuff in it without actually putting any product in there. If somebody is there scanning it and manning it and saying thank you, then it does work pretty decent. The problem that we had is it stopped allowing all of that in this last 2-week period simply because of social distancing is one of the big issues. And we just had so much going on that we didn't want to have to deal with that as well. Now that things are quieting down, to a manageable situation, we can look at that again. But I would also want to just make sure that everybody's comfortable in terms of the whole social distancing issue. But yes, we can look at those again because I did have somebody from the NCVO ask me 2 days ago if they could do that, and I put them on hold saying I'm a little nervous right now with getting that back going again. But again, I'll add that to the list to rethink again.
Okay. Just a quick look at Instagram. We have some questions coming in there as well. So one person wants to know about hand sanitizers. I think that will probably be a similar response to the Lysol spray.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I think we're going to have to just replace that WhatsApp prescription number with "we have no sanitizer."
Yes. Toilet paper you have, right? So we've got toilet paper.
Not make light of it because I know it's a very serious situation.
Yeah.
We are really trying to, we found a 56-foot trailer. Now, to tell you, the normal trailers that you see on the road are 40 feet. We found a 56-foot, a big one, with full of hand sanitizer. We ordered it. It was on its way. It was going to be expensive, but it was coming.
Yes.
Only to find out that the military took it. No problem.
The U.S. military.
So
Wow.
The U.S. military, yeah.
Yeah. So, wow, that's crazy.
But
Okay.
it continues to be an issue.
Yeah. All right, so another Instagram question says, are they talking to local farmers about increasing production? I guess that's kind of difficult because you
Um,
can't force a potato to grow quicker
no,
than.
well, we haven't, because in reality, the local farmers don't give us a lot of product because they can sell it. If they can sell it themselves, they make more money,
Right.
right? Because they have to sell it to us at a price to where we can sell it at the same price as them. So if they can
Mm-hmm.
sell it themselves, they make more money. And right now in this environment, I believe they're selling all that they can produce, because I mean, the production of product in the Cayman Islands is insignificant to the consumption.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way that local farming can take care of local
Yeah.
consumption, which is why we have to bring in what we have to bring in. I mean,
Yeah.
we do our best to manage our purchasing to match what is like mango season, for instance. During
Mm-hmm.
mango season, we don't bring in any overseas mangoes unless Cayman has a poor crop. If it has a great crop, we don't bring in any. If they have a poor crop, then we have to.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of do that, but it is difficult with the local farmers because we never really know if they're going to have. We have to order in advance, right? So we
Mm-hmm.
can't just show up one day and say, "Hey, I have 100 pounds of tomatoes," and that can change anything that we do because we'll have already ordered everything, but we have to order ahead of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great to know. And again, this is the logistical stuff that, we're not in the supermarket business, so we're just consumers. So all we know is we show up, we give you your money, we purchase product, and we don't really understand a whole lot of these things that go on in the background. Melrose was wondering if you could have a staff member stand right there and encourage customers to
But in
use the wipes.
normal circumstances, but in normal circumstances, I think,
Yeah,
sorry,
sorry, I couldn't hear it. You were saying under normal
say
circumstances.
again.
I couldn't hear that last bit where you said under normal circumstances.
No, sorry, I was saying under normal circumstances, we do buy almost anything that the local farmers gives, and we can generally sell whatever they give us because really it's not a lot of product in terms of what local consumption is. But in terms of answering the person's question, uh, they are not bringing us very much right now because they can pretty much sell everything. Because right
Mm-hmm.
now consumption is just crazy. And
Yeah.
at some point in time, if we could actually talk about that multiple times, because I really would like
Mm-hmm.
the message to get out to Cayman, is people are consuming as if we have no problem. I mean, they're
Mm-hmm.
thankful that we're working as hard as we're working, but they're just
Mm-hmm.
consuming as if there's no issue.
Mm-hmm.
We are working long, long hours to make sure that product keeps coming,
Mm-hmm.
but people have to be prudent. Um, you know, even with the soap you use or be mindful that it might not be here tomorrow. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't mean to say that to create any panic, because there's nothing to make us believe that the US is going to stop shipping anything. There's absolutely
Mm-hmm.
nothing that tells us, excuse me, I'm not sure how to turn that off.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, there's nothing that tells us that the shipment of goods is going to, right? So I want to make that abundantly clear. So even though we are on allocation, and what allocation means is basically while we were able to get anything that we wanted in the past, now we're only able to get. They have us on limits just the way we're limiting our customers. So we're under the same type of limits, but we are a very important customer to those that we buy from. And they told us in no uncertain terms that they are going to continue to ship to us. The shipping companies have said, we are absolutely moving those boats.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is a go. There is nothing changing. However, this is a
Yes.
very dynamic situation where things could change.
Absolutely.
There's nothing we can do to control that or anybody else, right? So we just live in that environment, right? So notwithstanding all of that, we have got to address the consumption. You do
Yeah.
not need to eat the same way that you ate before. You now have all of these children that have just come back from school who are eating snacks and doing all the things as if everything is going to continue and is in abundance. We need to conserve
Yes.
and just be prudent with what we have.
Yes. It's a good point, Woody. And, one of the conversations that I have on my list of things when we have more time, when we're not in an emergency dialogue like this, is to talk about the consumption on a regular basis in this country that contributes to Mount Trashmore, and why we can't get that under control, because nobody, including myself, and I'm guilty of this because I'm like the biggest waster. My husband always says to me, do you really need to use that many paper towels and toilet paper? Because I'm always like one for each little thing, And so I'm not the best at cutting back on consuming certain things, and I'm the best at, even recycling. And I think that's a conversation that we need to have, and we need to at some point try to become more cognizant of how, as consumers here on this island, we are like hyper consumers. Like you said, we're eating every second, we're, producing tons of garbage, and by extension, in emergency situations like this, we're also using a lot of product when we should be trying to cut back. So some good advice there.
I think that's an issue of we're a first world country, and I think that's the situation we live in a first world country. You just think that there's no end to anything, and first countries are typically very wasteful.
Right. A few comments about having someone stationed at the hand wipe station. I don't even think that that's honestly going to be worth the staff member who could be doing something a bit more productive. Listen, people, if Foster's and other grocery stores are making wipes available.
That's one of the new initiatives that we put in 20. That's right.
Oh, you've started that as of this morning.
So that's a brand new initiative that we put in, because what that is designed to do is two things: is to reduce the waste because when it was unmanned, we saw people taking 10 and 20 of those wipes at a time.
Oh wow!
Some of it was just using foolishly, and some of it was putting them in plastic bags and taking them home because they couldn't find sanitation wipes. So, I mean, good on them for being, coming up with solutions to solve their own problems, but it does affect other people. So, but the other component of that is that those weren't using it to then gain whatever germs they may have, and not saying it was COVID, but just whatever. So we're getting them to wash their hands or sanitize prior to going into the health, so that we don't have to deal with it in other parts of the store. Getting it at the front end. And it also gives us an opportunity to just remind people of the social distancing, and just that personal interaction, we think has many benefits. So it's a new initiative we started today.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go, guys. Again, Woody's ahead of the curve. First Lady Jayan says, are suppliers to Foster Store aware of these measures? I'm not sure what measures you're referring to. So if you could clarify that, we can certainly get back to that question. Kareen, regarding stock, I think Woody has just addressed that they don't foresee any supply chain or stock issues. However, we are in very unpredictable times at the moment. So do not use product as though you think there will be an unlimited supply. Try to conserve as much as possible. We all have a role to play in this process. Eunice says that she's trying to find Huggies number 5 diapers. Anyone has any Huggies number 5 diapers? Can you find out? Because Eunice, I don't know if you go to the cash and carry at Progressives, but when I was in the diaper business, thankfully that's now over. I used to go there and just buy the case. So I think he could probably check with Progressives and maybe some of the other suppliers on island to see if there's any number 5 diapers available.
Could I jump in? I could jump in on that one.
Sure.
Progressive has closed their cash and carry,
Ah,
so that they can focus on delivering product to the supermarkets.
okay.
So I made a note of it to check on number five and just to see if there's an issue. But if we don't have it and the local suppliers and the other local or competitors don't have it, then that means that Progressive is out. But I'll check. I made a note of it.
Okay, very good. Um, Tamara has a question. Again, Tamara is watching from the States. She says, in regards to social distancing technique and how Price Right is set up with cashiers and customers' interaction, what is being done in regards to that? So, anything specific at Price Right? And I think what she means is you are literally right there by the cashier as you're checking out. Any recommendations? You know, one of the things I actually thought about, Woody, and I don't know.
All right. So
Yeah, sorry. One of the things that occurred to me is
you go ahead.
to encourage social distancing. You know, we saw a viral video from the medical, a lot of the physicians saying hashtag stay at home can. I think that was great. Those types of things do tend to be effective. But even just the wearing of shirts, which I know you guys have your staff uniforms and stuff, but just the wearing of shirts that say, you know, I don't know what exactly they'd say, but stay 6 feet away or, you know, whatever. So there's a lot of things that we can do to remind each other. I think human nature, culturally, we're used to running up to people, getting very, very close to them, wanting to shake their hand, wanting to hug them, and all sorts of stuff. So we are breaking the norm, but this time that we're in now, this is what we're going to be creating. This is the new normal, you know. So we're going to have to change a lot of our personal habits. We're going to have to change a lot of our habits as a community and break away from wanting to be in that personal space with other people. So have you guys considered anything specific to Price Right and how to, you know, maybe distance people a little bit who are checking out at the cash registers?
Yes, we have. I just sent you on your WhatsApp a picture that we found from a Dutch supermarket.
Perfect.
I don't know if you want to put that up on the screen
Yep.
if you can. Basically, what it does is there's like a little plastic thing that we'll put on the ground and ask you to stand on that while waiting. Now, how they have it, if you'll notice when you look at that picture, that is 6 feet apart. We don't have the space to do 6 feet apart.
Right.
So we're going to look at, say, 3 to 4 feet. Again, just so we can sort of keep that distance. We're gonna try that and see how that works. And we're not only gonna do that at the front end, but we're gonna do it in our pharmacy. We're gonna look at doing it in our deli. So in those sort of hot spots where people do congregate is where we're looking to put them. In a store like Savannah, front end works really difficult because there's just simply not enough space. We're only gonna put 2 of them. But it also helps people to remember that there's a social distancing that we need to try and adhere to. The other thing that we have done is that we have put on all cashiers at all times, even though we might not necessarily need it, and we'll pay for the extra payroll, just so that we can keep the registers as clear as possible, right? So under normal circumstances, we would put enough cashiers there that warrant it in terms of the sales, knowing that we're going to have a bit of a backup. But just in terms of business practices and watching your payroll, we don't over provide for cashiers. In this environment, it creates 2 things. One, it helps to move the customers through faster and keep the front end cleaner. The other thing it does is it keeps people working. Because right now, that's as big a situation as everything. So we want to keep all of our staff working as long as possible, for as long as this needs to go on, simply because it helps the economy to continue. The other thing that we're doing is that we're also going to, about every 30 minutes in all stores, we're going to do sort of public service announcements reminding people to watch their social distancing and to watch their consumption. Again, just so that people can hear it more often and try to make it a daily part of this new world that we're in right now.
That's
That's what we've
fantastic.
done so far.
Okay, good. So Lisa Andrews says, thanks, Woody. Helen says, Mr. Foster, thanks so much for doing this. Removes a lot of fear. We do have someone on WhatsApp as well who sent through a message. And this person said, just want to say enough respect to Mall Road and Foster's. You guys are doing a great job, and fist bump, virtual fist bump. So that's fantastic. So a lot of people, yeah, a lot of people certainly appreciative of the efforts that are underway, and I think it definitely speaks to the fact that you guys are being proactive and that you're thinking, you're looking for ways to encourage people to do the right thing within your corporate environment, which I think is great. And like I said earlier this morning on the morning segment, you know, we don't necessarily have to recreate the wheel. There are a lot of countries all over the world, the vast majority of countries right now are dealing with this situation. And, you know, some of those countries are doing an excellent job and some are struggling to get it together. And we can learn from both of those situations. So we can learn from the people who are doing it very, very well and the ones who probably need to engage in some better practices. Tamara says that you're the best boss ever. So I don't know if, I guess she's worked with you at some point. Trisha says, Trisha says that she's been shopping at Foster's and she loves your store. Patty is suggesting that no children under 16 should be allowed in the stores. I think that's probably a decision for parents to make.
Well, we've actually talked about that in our food group, and that is a suggestion that we had put up to the NEOC as well, in terms of having that discussion, you know, not just within ourselves but including the NEOC. And the NEOC is the National Emergency something through, I forget the operational command or something like that, through the hazard management. So we're liaising with them as well. And that has come up, and we've talked about limiting to, you know, sort of one per household shopping as opposed to bringing multiple people. It's just the practicalities of
Yep.
it. Can we manage it? Because I mean, we also have to remember now that this is not a perfect world, and you have single parents
Right.
whose children are now not in school. What do they do with those kids?
True.
And do we then have to have some kind of daycare to watch their kids? And then of course that's
That
a
creates
liability
another
for us.
situation.
And
Yeah.
so we're absolutely taking every single suggestion that we get, and we're putting it in our washing machine and thinking it through and seeing what makes the most sense. So all of these suggestions, we really truly appreciate it. And sometimes they're the same suggestion but with a little bit different spin, and
Yeah.
that makes all the difference in terms of whether it's implemented or not implemented. Sometimes not implementing what you thought was a good suggestion is also good, right?
Yes.
Because things can go wrong. So we really do appreciate the suggestions, and if you can keep them coming in, whether they come in through Marl Road, through Chamber of Commerce, through sending them to somebody that you know in the store, we don't really mind where they come from, just we're happy for it.
Okay. And Patty, I think that as a parent, I mean, I've not been, definitely not in the last couple of weeks, taking my daughter out, although she loves grocery shopping. She sees this as something fun to do. I have not been taking her to the grocery store. So I think that's a suggestion that parents, if they can, if their situation allows for it, that they need to consider strongly, like what he said, just sending one person to the grocery store to do the grocery shopping. That helps with congestion in the supermarket, on the streets, and everything else. Sue says that you're doing a great job and very well organized. Carrie Dean says to keep the job up. Sue actually says that you're doing a better job than the supermarkets in the US and the UK, in her opinion. And Maislin agrees with the suggestion that children should stay home. Shanae is asking what provisions might be in place for people who do not drive. Should you roll out this process? So I'm assuming she means the delivery process. But if you don't drive, then you don't have to worry about it because your food will be delivered.
Yes. That's correct. We're hoping to be able to roll out the online soon, but you can also call Island Grub. Island Grub is a great small business, locally owned small business that would, happy to do that. They're trying to ramp up their services, because they typically do that with us now. They don't do a lot, but they do some. But they would love the extra business. NCI also does this. So check with some of the local couriers who offer that service, and they can get started on that now.
Okay.
It's
Lily's.
a great offer there, and it's a great opportunity to
Yes.
local.
Yeah. And I mean, I've been saying this from day one. There will be businesses, even during this situation, that will thrive and will emerge and do extremely well because of the nature of what it is that they're offering. And obviously, there will be other businesses that are going to feel some really tough times ahead. Lily wants to know, Lily has a comment. She says, thanks very much for keeping the prices the same in your supermarket. So let's talk about this because, we have had some complaints of people who think that you are price gouging. So if you can just explain for the benefit of the listening public, what is happening at the moment with your pricing.
Nothing has changed with our pricing structure. Nothing ever will. Yeah, I'm getting better. I'm a relatively emotional person in that any time and you'll notice, Sandy, because you send me quite a lot of things in terms of, hey, I heard this, and I deal with it immediately because I take it personally when we have failed or when we have disappointed a customer. But that gets difficult to wear that all the time. So I think I'm getting better at dealing with when we drop the ball. I still take it seriously, just trying not to take it so personally. But when it comes to price gouging, I really take it personally when we get accused of price gouging, because I know who I am, and I know where we come from, and I know who our family is, and I know how we operate. And it really upsets me when we get accused of price gouging. I tell you right now, categorically, we will never, ever do that. Now, do we make mistakes with pricing? Yeah. And get things wrong? Yeah, absolutely. And when we do, if it ends up on social media, no problem. That's the world that we live in, and shame on us for getting it wrong, and we deal with that. Just please do not accuse us of price gouging, because it will never happen. Because if you notice, walking around the stores, our ad is still in place. We have not pulled our ad. We have not pulled any of the little temporary price reductions off. So everything is still going. Now, fair enough, we might not have the product because of the situation we're in, but if we have the product, you're getting it at the price that we advertise it at, or we have it. So all of that is continuing to go, and that's not really sounding like somebody who's price gouging. And I will say that is the same for our competitors as well. So I would really hope that discussion could go away. But if somebody sees something, then sure, say something, but ask the question. Don't make an accusation.
Okay. Jeanette wants to know, has this crisis made you have a different outlook on supply chains originating from China?
No.
Okay.
No, we haven't, because there's been no evidence that we're aware of in terms of the germs coming across on cardboard boxes. Obviously, if that changes, then that'll be something that the whole world will have to deal with. But if you take China out of the equation, I'm not sure how to function at this stage of the game.
Because 90% of our products somehow originate from China.
With groceries.
Yeah.
Because there's lots of, most of it doesn't China in terms of groceries, but yeah, China. I don't know how the world would handle that. The biggest issue really is how do we keep the Chinese continuing? But no, we haven't had any conversation about not buying things from China.
Okay. Sheena wants to know whether or not you've given any consideration to.
Yes, I see Sheena's comment.
Yes.
We'll look into that as well.
Okay. Because I know in the past it's been done for other kind of major disasters to help with
Yeah,
relief
make a note.
efforts. Melita says that she's willing to
Yeah,
volunteer.
I'm gonna you drop all of that.
Okay, Melita says that she's willing to volunteer a few hours to help monitor the donation cart, and hopefully others will do the same. So if you need volunteers, I think Melita, one of the things that he said is they're trying to work out the logistics of, especially with the social distancing, if they make that decision, how to